this guy good or what?
Hey, Tony.
I'm
We
trying to
like the
imagine
things you do.
I'll do the same as that picture next to me. I feel like I'm dressed exactly the same. You see me? I'm right here. I'm looking just like the picture.
You're doing the same.
Same thing as the picture. That is the
In my good side.
My good side. I respect it. I respect it.
How you guys doing?
Doing all right, man.
Beautiful,
Tony, we are so happy to have you. Read your stuff. I finally caught up on some of the projects that I wasn't aware of when I met you at Stockton Con. And yeah, man, I'm excited to, just have a conversation with you.
Nice. I'm excited to be here.
So yeah, man, it's your boy the comment KJ_men.510. That's the Bay. And today we on Tapping No Capping, where if you're nerdy, you see it. What's your opinion? My boy Hiztori, go ahead, introduce yourself, my brother.
I'm living history. Overall artist, write, draw, paint, sculpt, just a little bit of everything. You catch me at Living History on IG and pretty much every other platform that it is. And it's a pleasure to be here in this conversation.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited.
For you, Tony, go. I mean, we know who you are, but for the people that watch this, go introduce yourself if you can.
Yeah, I'm Tony Fleecs. I write and draw comics. I mostly write right now. I do a book called Feral at Image, and another book at Image called Stray Dogs and Local Man. I'm writing The Thing at Marvel Comics right now, and I got an upcoming Marvel book called The Omega Kids that's part of the Age of Revelation event. And I just got back from Comic-Con, where I lost the Eisner for my boom book, Uncanny Valley.
Cool.
Good. So, big one.
Yeah, so let's get into it, man. So as y'all heard, this is Tony. These are some of the projects that he's worked on: Uncanny, Feral, Local Man, and Stray Dogs. Now, when you go to some of these conventions, what like the fan base that comes to you more? What is that fan base like? What project is the fan favorite?
I feel like the one people know about most is Stray Dogs. That's the one, if people are coming up, that they've either read it or they're telling their friends about it. But it's an interesting mix, because for 10 years before I made Stray Dogs, I drew My Little Pony comics. And so I got a lot of My Little Pony fans. And then now I do Marvel stuff, and I've done some DC stuff. So I'll have people come up with that stuff too. It's a really interesting mix. I have an eclectic body of work. But the stuff that I get most excited to talk about is when they've read Feral or Stray Dogs or Local, like my creator-owned stuff, because that's the stuff that I can really get down and talk about,
Okay, all right. Speaking of Stray Dogs, let's go ahead and get into that. Yeah, so this is what the cover looks like, y'all, for at least for one of them. I was able to get to it before we got into this podcast. And what's going on, Tony? What's going on personally? What's going on, man? Talk to us.
Some dark stuff going on up there. That's I like horror stories. I like at the time, especially, like I was into really sort of dark, like serial killer stories. And I just had this idea about the story of Stray Dogs is basically there's a serial killer that murders people and takes their dogs as trophies. But the story's told from the POV of these dogs who don't know what's
illest. That is the illest thing ever.
Doesn't that sound awful, man? That is crazy.
Tony, I respect it.
Thank you. When I had the idea, I was like, I got to make this right away, because it was one of those things where you're like, I can't believe this doesn't exist. And so I got into it, and we sort of built the outline and built the story up, and I teamed up with Trish Forstner and Tone Rodriguez and Brad Simpson, the same team that draws Feral, and I've worked with all of them on a bunch of different stuff. But I just was sort of created this story, created these characters to try and hurt feelings, like I was like, we're gonna build this story in such a way that like people get really invested in these characters. We wanted it to be, a quick, just like a pulp story where it's just like you pick it up, it's this crazy concept, you read it, it's a satisfying story, you know. And so we built all these characters and all these dogs to each serve a purpose in the story, and the ones that you love the most, the sort of like a trick. If you want to know who's going to get hurt the most, you at the very beginning, if you're like, oh, I love this one,
they're probably going to get. They're probably going. Tony, are you a dog owner?
That's
yeah. My guy Baxter's right over here right now. He's being very. I'll show you.
Okay, thank you for a sign of life. We appreciate that.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's all. It was good. Just
He's
want to make sure.
Today's newspaper.
So speaking of stray dogs, how did you come up with the villain's name?
The master.
That is like, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's only his name to the dogs, you know, like if the news gave him like a serial killer name, you know, like BTK or, you know, the Night Stalker or whatever, they would have no reason to call him the master. But, you know, dogs have, you know, nice dogs call their people, and then like dogs that are in more of like a more rigid sort of situation would call their people the master. And so that's how he got his name. And it's scary sounding, you know.
It is, and that's why I asked, because I was like, yo, I'd never, from like you said, from a dog's perspective, that's horrifying. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't even hear that association that much. Like I've heard that in, I want to say Up, the movie Up, where we hear it in a like positive sense. He was like, oh, you master, but in this, something completely different. Completely different.
You know, even in Up, he was uncomfortable with him calling him master. Even in that retrospect, to me, it's almost an uncomfortable thing for a lot of people on both sides.
Well, hopefully it had people feeling a little bit like off kilter, even when the dogs first start talking about him, because when Sophie first comes to the house, all the other dogs are sort of like the dog in Up, where they're like, oh, the master takes care of us, we love him, you know. And then as it goes on, it sort of goes through all the stages of it, where at the end they're just like, oh no, this guy is the worst kind of you know, like this is the murder kind.
Yeah. Speaking of, so my boy Hiztori hasn't really got into this. We introducing it to him, but that's good, because for the people that's watching this that's not aware, we're gonna talk about it just a little bit. So speaking of why I asked him what's going on, my little cousin was a fan of his work, and I was unaware, and I was like, oh really? And I was like, cousin, you, and I wasn't, once I read it, I wasn't sure if I was concerned about you or I was concerned about my cousin, because I was like, what's going, because in this scene specifically that I just referenced, they're digging for dead bodies in his backyard, the dogs. And there's a trapped dog with one leg, well, no, 3 legs, missing an arm, trying to crawl his way out while the master is on his way, and they're like petrified to, like, you know, hurry up and, you know, not get caught, because he does yeller motherfuckers. And he also goes full Cruella de Vil. So like, yeah, how did you get those things that I just referenced? Did you get any of those like inspirations from those movies, or?
Well, yeah, Old Yeller certainly, probably more of a like it's just part of my foundation than it was something I thought about specifically when I was making this. But yeah, the idea of people putting dogs down. My parents are both from Nebraska, and so like I grew up in sort of like I grew up in Colorado and Maryland, but I would spend summers in places that were really agricultural and like farm stuff, and they do dogs different than how we were doing dogs, you know, in the suburbs in Colorado. You know, and at a certain point they get too old, they're not taking them to the vet, they just take them out and put them down. And so it's a whole different, you know, way than how I interact with dogs or how I did growing up. So yeah, that part was in there. But this guy also being a killer just sort of has like a even darker edge to it, where like he's not just, you know, he's not worried that the dog's sick or that it's old or it's time or whatever. It's just sort of like that's how he takes power.
Got you.
So if you don't have a dog, you're okay.
Yeah, I have to be I have to be very careful when I'm selling this to people, and if they show any sort of like, like there's different levels of sensitivity. There's just like I don't like it when stuff happens to animals, and I'm like, well, of course, yeah, me either.
Yeah.
But then there's like people that absolutely can't handle it, and I mean, I guess I'm a little less cautious about it than people who absolutely don't like to see stuff happen to animals. But I've been telling these stories about animals and their adventure stories, their horror stories. So it's like, if there's not stakes, then what are we doing? You know, like,
absolutely.
If you read that book and you're just like, well, I see 10 dogs at the beginning, and at the end there's going to be 10 dogs. Then you're just like, all right, well, that was a nice time. But if there's real like danger and stakes, then you get to the end of it and you're like, oh, thank God they survived. Thank God this one made it and stuff.
Got you. With all these horrifying creative thoughts, it's it's actually surprising that you're a mama's boy. How does that work? How does that work? You got a tat of moms. You would never expect that.
Yeah, I guess I am. I'm one of 5 kids, and I'm the oldest, and so yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm the oldest. Trust me.
We all the oldest.
We all the oldest. Yeah, that takes the cake. Yeah.
You end up getting deputized sometimes, you know.
Yeah, without wanting to be.
Yeah, that's fair. I am a mama's boy for sure. My dad's all right too.
You would have to be. You got her tatted. I even got that. He's a big tat. Is that your only one?
That's my only one. Yeah, I never followed it up. I still may someday, but then I'm just like, what if it changes? Like I almost got Star Wars tattoos, and then I became sort of like apathetic about Star Wars, and so then like, yeah, what if I had these big, like sleeves of Star Wars? Then I have to talk about it all the time.
Imagine that. Like I don't feel like it today, but you're covered.
Yeah,
Jay, I think you watched Ahsoka, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of, is there something you like to tell the class, Tony, about Ahsoka?
Me?
Yeah.
I just said I liked Rebels better, and I thought that if they were going to make it real, they didn't make. Speaking of, you enter the story and there's 10 characters, and then you get to the end of it and there's 10 characters.
Yeah.
In the very first episode of Ahsoka, when it looked like they killed Sabine, I was like, "That's exciting! What a crazy thing to do! Fan favorite." They're real stakes, and then the next episode they come back and they're like, "Oh, I'm all right." It's just like that's the show they made. It's showing you your characters that you like, and they go on adventures. Ezra comes back with no real fight at all. It's just like, "Oh, there he is. Where you been?" So I like the cartoon a lot. I just think they sort of were doing a little too much, like high school reunion, or like that the show just felt like it was like people that had such warm feelings about the cartoon made that show, but it's also like, all right, give me an adventure to watch. And especially if it's new people watching, it's like, well, what will they care, about more Ahsoka after this, just besides how cool she looks as the real life Ahsoka, right?
That makes a lot of sense. You made a much better argument on here than you did when I met you.
He practiced.
When I met him at the convention, I almost walked away. I said, what? And he said, I mean, like what he's saying, he said, but the delivery was completely different. So this is PR training. It's got to be.
I've been thinking about it. Yeah, I've been practicing.
Yeah, but no, that's fair. Honestly, everything you just said, especially the point of what would make people like gravitate towards Ahsoka besides just liking the aesthetic, of the actress and having the live action look as good as it was. But yeah, you're right. The high stakes and everything that they put into the show, you don't get that emotional, attachment. So I can agree with that.
I think that the people who created were emotionally attached to the character.
Absolutely.
And when you're that emotionally attached to the character, you don't know how to let go of the story. It's like getting the opportunity. Like if I got an opportunity to write for Spider-Man, and then they're like, "Well, you got to kill Spider-Man." I'm like, "Whoa, we're not gonna do that. We're not doing that. We're gonna write around killing Spider-Man." And sometimes you have to really let go of your feelings to be the writer that you need to be. So I definitely third, not second, but third your opinion on that for sure.
Well, especially because in the cartoon, they were brutal. Like they would do horrible things to those characters in the cartoon. You know? And so then, by the time it comes when they made them real people, I was just like, oh, this is gonna be crazy. This is the most dramatic Star Wars they ever made. And then it came on, and it was just like, there's all your friends, and look at them, they're real people now. Can you believe it?
I was gonna say, don't you have a prequel to Stray Dogs?
There was a book called Dog Days that we did that's sort of like prequel, sequel, in betweenquel, like it's everything.
Yeah, I thought it was really creative because it made it darker. I didn't think that was possible. First of all, that's another thing. Plot holes. I loved how you connected Dog Days to Stray Dogs. It was beautiful. Well done. Especially like with these dogs having amnesia. And I don't know if that was like like you guys trying to convey trauma and how people forget things because they're traumatized. But like how she what's her name? Sophie doesn't remember Rusty. But they actually met in the prequel. And I thought that was really dark because like he pretty much is letting you know what's about to happen. That kind of like, yo, that's deep. I love the way he did that. But the plot hole was, and I hate this in all scary horror movies, when the person falls, like the villain falls, and instead of the person trying to kill him, they run away and trip themselves, or they get, the door is locked, I can't get out.
Yeah.
Why in this comic? And I don't know, is this a spoiler? Can I say it?
Oh, say whatever. It's 5 years old.
Okay, so why in this comic the shout out to my boy Earl, right? That's his name, Earl, right?
Yeah.
My memory is, boy, I'm on it. So Earl, he's like it's like a hound.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
So he figures out the master is this serial killer that he is, gets the jump on him, literally bites his neck, gets away, and the master gets pushed down the stairs. There's a scene where all the dogs are looking at the master, blood coming out his neck, and passed out on the floor. And instead of them just mangling him and jumping him and winning, the hound jumps out the window, damn near kills himself. What? Yeah. Who wrote? What's going on, Tony?
Well, I feel like I had to defend my story here. Well, I mean, the dogs are all frightened at that point, but they still. The whole time, the story is an argument where a new dog shows up and she says, "Your master, your owner, is a murderer, and he killed my lady." And the whole series is her trying to bring people over to her side before everybody forgets, because we sort of set up that dogs have short memories and they will forget. And so when he falls down the stairs, like they're kind of convinced that he killed Victor. They're a little they're sort of coming around to her side, but they're not yet like turned on this guy so much that they would just be like, we have to eat him right now. It's more that they're confused. They don't know what's going on. And at that moment, Earl, coming from just having this revelation that he's been lied to all this time, he's the one that most is radicalized, that most knows what's going on. So he's like, we have to get out of here no matter what.
True. Okay. That's fair. You're smart.
But yes,
I like the way you say stuff. You say things in a way that's so like easily digestible that is like I can't even try to go back and forth with you. Like that's.
Well, this stuff I've thought about a ton, Rebels and Ahsoka, I'm just talking out my ass, but the Stray Dogs.
Respect it. I mean,
yeah, so let's now this is something I didn't get a chance to go through. Obviously, we just met each other, so I didn't get to go through all your stuff, but if you can tell us a little bit about Pharaoh.
Before that, I want to just agree with you. I hate in any horror movie when they walk away from somebody that's been pushed down, like where they just leave somebody breathing.
So
crazy.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I was like, well, maybe he was continuing the homage of connecting horror movie plot. Like, you know what? I don't want to be too different. Just keep the aesthetic going. And I was
it's a thing in horror movies because you just want to extend your ending, right? You don't want them to beat the guy and then they're just like, oh, that was good. I guess we're free now.
Okay, got you. So you needed a bigger like moment.
Yeah, the climax.
Yeah. Okay, climax, yeah.
I always said if I made a horror movie, I would make the shortest movie ever. Literally, you show up to the house, things happen, they leave. Like we're not staying there. Like we're not leaving. Or the person's there. Oh, we found him. You kill him and then you leave. Like we're not gonna run around the house. We're not doing it. I'm just gonna leave. Like I've always said I would make the shortest horror movie of all time.
I feel like if I'm in a slasher movie, when the police arrive, they'll think I'm the slasher because like somebody knocks the guy down and then they run away. I'm just like, we got to go make sure that he's not a monster. He might just be a crazy person, but from what I'm seeing here, he could have Michael Myers stuff going on. He might be a Jason. We got to really stab him until he's not getting up again.
That's my point. Like you
turn around, sir.
Yeah.
No, well, no, but that's like, to me, that's like common sense, bro. It's like if I am a victim of somebody, I'm not going to have remorse in the sense of rather I'm going to give you a chance to live and just let you be hurt, or I'm going to give you a second chance to get at me. Like I'm going to make sure the job is finished.
But horror movies don't have common sense. That's the number one rule that they don't talk about. Common sense in a horror movie does not exist. Like all horror movie information, like zombie movies too, the information that we know as people does not exist in that universe. That's why they run around with their heads cut off like chickens all the time, because zombies, you stab them in the heart, stab them in the head. They're shooting at the kneecaps. All kind of crazy stuff is going on. It's like, what are we doing? So common sense is not a part of horror movie trivia at all.
I think it also is people, in a crisis, some people are cool and have it figured out, and most people just panic, and so it is like fight or flight kicks in. They're just like, get the fuck out of this house, and so I feel like I would definitely be like that. The part of me that watches a million horror movies that just knows like that I got to stomp on that guy till he's not moving anymore. That part would really be in conflict with, I got to get right out of this house. I bet I can get up the street, I bet I can get to some other house, bang on the neighbor's house, something.
Yeah, you say you from Colorado, but I feel like that's the LA in you. That's the right. I was gonna say, aren't you a fan of The Walking Dead?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched the show. I've seen episodes of it, but I never like watched full seasons of it. And I read the book up until the 50s, I think. Well, I liked the book. I just, I fell off on it. And then when I started making Feral, I was like, I remembered Robert Kirkman talking about how he wouldn't read World War Z, the zombie handbook or stuff like that, because he didn't want to cross over. Mm-hmm. And so I just sort of decided not to dip back in until I'm done with this thing. But even, like zombie soaps or tropes are so well trod that I'll be doing something like recently in Feral, we did like our sort of The Road, like some shit from The Road pops up and people are like, it's just like The Walking Dead. And I was like, I didn't read that Walking Dead yet. Like, I don't. So it's just,
that's what prompted.
We're all biting from the same stuff. Like in The Thing, there's a Warriors riff at the very beginning of it, and people go like, "Oh, he's just doing John Wick 3," and I'm like, "Well, I was doing a Warriors for John Wick 3."
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Feral, I can tell you about it.
Yeah.
So Feral is the whole same team from Stray Dogs. It's me, Trish Forstner, Tone Rodriguez, Brad Simpson. And it's a story about 3 indoor cats that get lost in the woods during a huge rabies outbreak. So it is like a zombie story, but with cats. It's like The Incredible Journey meets.
That is fire.
See Hiztori.
That right there. Yeah.
3 volumes out now. Well, 3 volumes out this week. Volume 3 comes out on Wednesday. But yeah, if you're interested in catching up, you can grab it.
I'm tapping into both. Like nice. I'm a big.
Stray Dogs was fire. I'm gonna be honest with you. It was fire in the sense that I was thinking to myself when I read it. I was like, obviously this can't come to screen. Like,
No,
but I would love for
hey,
it to. No, but
hey.
I'm saying, like, I was thinking to myself, because when I met him again, when I saw the cover, my gullible self, I'm thinking, oh yeah, this is cute. And it was everything but that. You get what I'm saying? So I'm saying it wouldn't come to screen thinking that it's not like Oliver and Company the way I thought it was going to be. Yes, they're stray dogs, but they're going through a lot of horrific things. You get what I'm saying? So then I was like,
Yeah, no
oh,
doubt, no doubt.
this should be animated. Now, you get what I'm saying? Like, especially like with Image Comics coming out with Invincible and all this stuff. It's like now that we're getting the more gruesome stories and the gruesome like effects, for sure this would go skyrocket. So yeah, no, I loved it.
Listen, I hope people are listening to what you're saying.
No, brother. This is just the. I'm gonna tell you right now. The idea alone of a zombie cat, bro. Listen, there's so much you can do with that.
Yeah. So we're
so much
hoping
you
to
can do with that.
we're finishing issue 16 and working on 17 right now, and we're hoping to do like 60 issues of it at least, like a big long run, so that we can really take these cats on a journey and adventure, have them go through stuff. So yeah, it's the one thing that I did for sure steal from Walking Dead was I loved when he was talking about the concept of the series just being like the worst part of a zombie story is the very end. Because it's just like there's no reason that it ends. They just stop telling the story, like unless everybody's dead, they're still living in a zombie apocalypse. Like the story could go on and on. So that's sort of what this is as well.
I really love that you incorporated the fact that he wasn't just killing the women. I thought that the fact that he was targeting women, it was like on the, I don't know if you ever seen the show on Netflix called You, but not only is he like, focusing on these women, which was scary because you're talking about firefighters and all these different type of women of walk of life, like women who should be able to handle themselves. You know what I'm saying? But then he's collecting, like most serial killers collect hair and like all these little samples to be like a trophy. Like, oh yeah. But he makes sure that they're dog owners and he uses the dogs to lure them in, and he steals their dogs and later kills the dogs and mounts them on his wall. That gave him a whole different layer of being like a serial killer. And I just thought that was so creative to make it both. You know what I'm saying? Like these aren't just foster dogs that are like missing like their owners. Like, no, like they're also being hunted and being killed. And I just thought that was that layer of fear, and seeing it from like, especially from the way it was drawn, from always being like looking up perspective, and the master always being like in a shadowy, persona. It was mwah, chef kisses, man. Very, very, very dope.
Yeah, we do that in Feral too. Like we don't, to keep the story in the animals POV, we never really want to focus on the people that much, and it makes them feel other. It makes them feel alien or different. Like in the case of the master and Stray Dogs, you would just see his boots walking around a lot of the time, or sometimes you would look up at him, but you couldn't get a clear shot of his face. And it's the same way with everybody in Feral, because we really want it to be about like these cats' experience, and they only know what they know. Like they don't speak English to people. They don't, they can't communicate with people, and so they're just they're picking up as much as they can pick up from context and what's going on around them.
Oh shoot. So we're gonna just go ahead and hop into the conversation of the Fantastic Four, Tony Fleecs. You know what I'm saying? Let's go ahead and talk about it, man. We talked about it. Go ahead and tell me your what was your, let's just start off with what was your expectation of the movie?
Well, we did a pre-interview earlier this week. I said I gave this movie a 6.8 out of 10, which I thought was great, but you thought that was too low. Going into it, I had tempered expectations. It looked great. The trailers looked great. I like all the actors. I liked WandaVision, but I didn't really have a expectation of this director necessarily, one way or the other. And I have been, like everyone, I think, post Endgame, just sort of like, what are they doing? Like every once in a while, one of them will be fun, but it's just like it feels like they're sort of off course a little bit. So I hope that this would be the course correction. I hope this would be the one where they're like, this is more like what we're doing. And I like Thunderbolts pretty well too. I thought the ending was boring, but I thought that the whole thing was fun. And I love the characters and how they work together. So this one, I like the characters. I mean, I love the Fantastic Four. And I like the way that these guys played the Fantastic Four. I feel like it's tough to, in less than 2 hours, do show how they all fit together. How's Sue fit with Johnny? How's Johnny fit with Ben? We saw a lot of how Sue and Reed fit together, but like really getting to pay off all those relationships, which I think is so central to the like Fantastic Four story. And then also, work in, here's what the Silver Surfer is, here's what Galactus is, here's what Franklin Richards represents, and sort of being able to do all those things. And I think they did a pretty good job of it. And I like that they kept the vibe. I love the vibe of it. Like I remember when the first Tim Story one was coming out, or before Tim Story, it was going to be Peyton Reed, like back in early 2000s. Peyton Reed, who did Ant-Man later, did this movie called Down with Love with Renee Zellweger and Ewan McGregor, and it was like a 60s throwback, like a pillow talk sort of like sex comedy, and it just looked like a 1960s, romance movie. And they said he was going to do Fantastic Four and he was going to do it like that. And I remember being like, that's the coolest idea. And then, they did 20 years of more modern style, like Ultimate Fantastic Four, right? Like this is what it would be like if they went up in the spaceship today. And so I love the take of they went up in the spaceship in the 60s in the space race, and this is how it changed the world. That Reed Richards, it now is, instead of Neil Armstrong, we've got the guy that invented the rocket, went up in the rocket, and he came back a superhero, and this is the world that grew out of that. I thought all that stuff was cool. And even making it about the baby and about the Galactus wanting the baby and then protecting the baby, and then, like you pointed out, going to the New Yorkers and saying, like, we're your family, you're our family, and we're not going to let him take our family. We're asking you for help. Like, I like that as well. But I don't know. It didn't have the same sort of weight that I thought, like, the better pre-multiverse MCU stuff. That's what I was looking for. Like, I want something that hits like the way Endgame hits, or the way Spider-Man No Way Home hits. Those ones.
That's unfair, because you're talking about a new introduction to Fantastic Four versus No Way Home and Endgame being movies and movies and movies, yeah, and even shows built to a huge climax.
Yeah, but I don't think those. I mean, I guess there is. You're bringing something from each one of the movies, and it builds and builds, and then you get that payoff. But I think the way the Fantastic Four is set up, you're already like the whole thing's family.
It's already there.
Yeah, you jump in. They're not doing the origin. These characters. Plus, add to it, they're having a baby. Like, that's so much more like emotional content and so much more stakes. Like we talked about. Like, if they're after her baby in her womb and she's an astronaut, you're already thinking about that lady wearing a diaper and driving across the country. So I just felt like I wanted a little more oomph, like a little more.
Yeah.
Right? Sorry, my guys ringing around.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
You guys go. Tell me.
I agree, but I don't. There's so much I could say. So much to say about it. I'm gonna try to make it very simple.
No, brother, talk.
Fantastic Four, to me, besides Doctor Strange, is one of the most boring books possible. Like, at times, it can be very boring. And this was the best way to convey them on the screen possible. And me and Connor have had this conversation. The reason why Fantastic Four suffers so much is because it's always 4-on-1. And heroes are always outnumbered. Villains should never be outnumbered. And when they write Fantastic Four, that's why all those movies suffer, because it's always 4-on-1. And then you have to give the Thing his screen time because he has to fight. Johnny his screen time. And Sue and Reed, they come together. So that's like it's literally 3 different people technically have to have screen time. And that's why those movies always fail, because it always looks like the Fantastic Four are the champions instead of losing like Spider-Man or on the other side of the ball. Um, and when you can't really convey that with bad direction like Fox and all that stuff, it just falls. I think in this movie, the best thing they did was not try to have the thing clobber everything and try to have him have his moment. It was a collective moment. And I honestly think that I feel you about not having the but I don't think this movie was about the The was Franklin, because if anybody knows Franklin, he basically take over the whole universe if you felt like it. So I think that was the For me, it was a 7.2, 7.5, because the pacing was beautiful and the way that everybody got their moment was beautiful. And Sue, she's a mega level mutant technically. Like that woman can do anything. So they let that be seen. And it was quiet. It was a very quiet movie, but it got its point across. And I know what you're saying because we've been fed so much information in the past 10 years, and every movie that really hit us. Like I compare Fantastic Four to Guardians of the Galaxy because it Guardians of the Galaxy is very unexpected, and the way that they took over Marvel, just them alone, the Fantastic Four had the same ability, but it was very quiet instead of how Guardians of the Galaxy just popped. Like even that last movie, I still feel pain when Rocket goes through what Rocket goes through in the beginning of that movie. And I feel you that Fantastic Four did not have that, but I think that it was a 1-inch punch instead of a knockout. That's what it feels like.
Okay, all right.
You know what I mean?
I like that reference. Okay.
That's really what we were hitting from. Because that 1-inch punch will still put you on your ass. But that we're looking for that Mike Tyson, that hook. You know what I mean? So that's where I see that. That's how it falls in for me, so to speak.
What sort of separates the ones where you really remember them and they really hit is moments, I think. And I always think about it was like the same year almost. Avengers came out and Django came out. I feel like the same year, around the same time. And both of those had these incredible where you're just like, what a, like I'll remember this forever. When Hulk says, I'm always angry. When he turns around, says, I'm always angry, and he punches out a spaceship.
That's a fact. Right?
Moment. In Django, it's when he says, y'all want to see something, and then he goes and shoots that guy. Like it's like a moment you remember in a movie, right? Mm-hmm. And I think they set up the stakes for that sort of thing because we talked about on the phone when Silver Surfer reaches into Stu's stomach, and then she says, Johnny, did she say kill her?
Kill her, yeah. Kill her. She definitely she says kill her. I was very surprised.
She didn't say stop her. She didn't say
kill her.
Kill her.
It feels like it's all like it was so close to being like it's almost one of those, but it is sort of you can't set up stakes better than that, right? Like somebody came into your spaceship, into your stomach, and that's where you're growing this baby, and you say kill her, and I feel like was just like 1 inch off from being one of those moments where you're like, oh, I'll remember that.
I respect that. No, I do.
What I'm hearing from you guys is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard it from other MCU fans, is that the old MCU, or at least, the last chapter, we got where it wasn't just that the stakes were high, but people actually lost. People actually died. And I think that what you're saying is they pretty much edged us. They got us close, but never actually took away anybody. You know what I'm saying? And I guess that takes away from the emotional pull of the movie. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. They had all the ingredients for the emotional pull, right? And they, I mean, it's the simplest thing to be like, there's a baby that's in trouble, and the monster has the baby,
exactly.
So they had all the stuff to really be able to pull your heartstrings and stuff, but it did feel like they were just holding back a little bit, or it was just slightly misaligned.
I feel like it's connected to Doomsday. That's why it doesn't bother me. I feel like this is part one of Doomsday. Like
it's the setup point.
It's a setup point. That's why this movie, I kind of hate to say this, but this is what Captain America should have been.
Mm.
Do you understand what I'm saying? That Falcon Captain America movie didn't set up anything. It just did a whole bunch of stuff. I felt like this was what it's supposed to be. It was still about the key core characters, but it slides you right into that. Like, Doom didn't turn around. We don't know Tony. It could have been any Doom. It could have been Alfred Hitchcock under that mask. Doesn't really even matter. It's just sliding you right into this. And that's why I was happy. When me and Colin had a conversation, I said, does it connect me to the next story? He was like, yeah. Then I said, I'm good. I didn't need to see the whole movie. That's all I needed. Because all this other stuff has been up in the air. It's juggling and juggling, and it's random. And that doesn't work for me. But before I go, I have a question. Well, it's more of a statement, but a question. So we have a big homie, and his name is Maul. He's in this. Yeah, shout out to the big homie, Jamal. He does a lot, but he said this, and anytime he says something about a Marvel movie, it's too good to be true, so it's never true. He said he doesn't think that the Fantastic Four are in the 616. He said when they originally took off, they were in the 616, but when they came back, they're in a different universe. That's why we haven't seen them at all this whole time.
It said at the beginning of the movie they're in a different world. Like,
I know, but originally they were in the 616. That's why we haven't seen them, is what he's saying.
Yes.
And then they took off and came back in a whole different universe. And that's why Tony was in the tower and blah, 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 because this is all in 19, whatever the year is. And I was like, that is an amazing idea. Even though it's not true, but it was like, it's a crazy idea, because that would actually clear up half of the garbage that we had to deal with. It would clear up the Doctor Strange and all this other last minute ideas. Yeah. That's why I was saying that, but that was just my little tidbit. But go ahead, brother, my apologies.
Tony knows I go too long. in history, you know the saying. I get long-winded. I am going to intentionally make mine short. I'm just going to go mental notes. I disagree. I feel like the MCU has been consistent, and I can't say the same for the DCU. I feel like, they just came out with Ironheart. I don't know how people feel like what is it called with what's his
Manifesto?
Huh?
Manifesto?
No, but I did like Mephisto. But I'm talking about, that was amazing casting, by the way.
Absolutely.
I'm talking about something of madness. What is that?
Doctor Strange, what's called a madness?
Multiverse of Madness.
Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, I don't know why people felt like that was a bad MCU movie. I was extremely entertained the whole time. I thought that it was like the first time a Marvel movie tried to twist horror into the movie, and it just came off really well for me, especially with the Scarlet Witch, because she's the Scarlet Witch. That is a good twist on how to portray her character when she goes mad. I thought it was really dope. But moving on to the Fantastic Four. Y'all heard some of the points I've already talked to Tony about, history about. As y'all can see, I'm a real fan of this stuff. Speaking of, because we didn't get a chance to talk to his brother, he's a co-author here. You know what I'm saying? I read it, by the way. Contrary to what history said, this is a good Fantastic Four comic. You know what I mean? And I will agree. Majority, or I didn't even say, let's not say majority. A lot of times in Fantastic Four stories, they're not entertaining. And the reason why they're not entertaining is kind of to what Tony just said. The high stakes aren't really there. It's them jumping one character versus like them being, jumped by a whole bunch of villains. So it always feels like they're going to come off on top, and it kind of gives that nobody's really going to lose here. It's kind of like how you feel when you read the comics. However, I feel like in this movie did the opposite. I feel like this was the first time in Fantastic Four comics that they made the characters cool. Like in all the other Fantastic Four movies, they're cool in how they associate with each other. But in this universe, they are the pedestal of what a hero is. We don't even know if there's any other heroes inside of that universe. They are basically the Avengers of that story. Johnny Storm is more than just, you know, the sex symbol of the group. Thing is more than just the, you know, depressed rocky monster that they always portray him in every other story, even in this story that you wrote. Mr. Fantastic isn't this weirdo like super scientist who doesn't understand social cues. And then with Sue Storm, she, instead of her just being the invisible glue of the team, she's like the mother of the team. She ties everybody together. She keeps everybody like grounded. And I love how they portrayed every character, and especially how they form together. I loved in this story, like, instead of the banter that we normally get from Johnny Storm and Thing, and it's kind of like it's a little bit like sometimes aggressive, like it's not really playful. In this movie, there's love there. That's bromance. Like, that's really like, no, that's my homie. That's only something that me and him can do. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I felt with Pedro. I felt like the way he did Reed Richards, he brought a charm to him that I've never seen from any other Mr. Fantastic. That instead of when you read Fantastic Four, you kind of feel like Reed Richards is kind of like a neglectful husband. But in this movie, it shows that he is so well-intentioned, but because he has so much responsibility on him, sometimes he feels neglected because he has to factor in so many other people than just his selfish needs or her needs. He has to factor in everything, and sometimes that communicates as neglect. And I thought that was beautiful, the way that they had that conversation. The Thing, man, I love that he was able to be embraced by his community for the first time. How, you know, he was playing with the kids, picking up the car, you know, like he's like the uncle of the family. Oh, I can't pick up this car, and then he does it with ease. You know, he actually approaching women. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not this antisocial guy. Which, by the way, comical relief. The Thing really doesn't have a high preference when it comes to women, and that's not me taking a shot at the actress in the movie, but in like, we've seen the Thing in comics and we've seen the Thing in movies. He's married a blind woman, you know, like I
you
wouldn't
take what you can get when you got pebbles on your back, bro.
I hear you.
She's drawn very beautifully. It's not like she's some disgusting, you know,
Yeah.
like, she looks very, very lovely.
No, for sure. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Thing was like this. Because, you know, like, he's at this point, you know, he love who love him. You know what I mean?
That's
and
right.
I think that's beautiful.
I think that's a lesson we could all learn from the Thing. You know.
Yeah. And with Johnny, I love that this was the first time with Johnny we've gotten where he's more than just this male chauvinist. I'm head over heels for women, but no, he's a smart man. He's well-intentioned. He puts family and duty first over his love interest. You know what I'm saying? I thought that was really cool. I love that he understands that everybody's role in the Fantastic Four is important, so much to the fact that he didn't even bother Mr. Fantastic about, like, I got this little evidence, let's study this. No, he's like, nah, he's busy. Let him focus on this. Let him do what he do. I'm gonna do what I do to support the team, and just was able to surprise them with how he supported them. You know, and I just thought that was, to me, this was a love letter to Johnny. Like, as much as people feel like Sue Storm stole the show, and I'm not mad if you feel that way, but I feel like Johnny stole the show, because unlike the old Fantastic Four, when it was the male Silver Surfer, the connection that he had with Sue was kind of off-putting. You know, she's a married woman. She's with Mr. Fantastic. Why are they so intimate? He's like, oh, you remind me of my wife from my planet. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a little off-putting. She was close to him. In this movie, it made sense because Johnny is the person who's single. He is into women. She is a space alien. They made a joke out of it. And instead of her just being a woman, that's why he's interested in her. She also appealed to the scientist in him. And I think that connection that they had of being both people that want to protect their community, both being self-sacrificing, that connection made more sense than they did in the old movie. So a lot of people who had grievances on why do we have a female Silver Surfer, I think they beautifully did it well. You know what I'm saying? So That is my take. Like I said, I try to keep it short. I give it at least an 8.5. That's how I feel about it.
Listen, that all sounds fair to me. You definitely prosecuted your case.
A very good argument. It was very. You made me move up like 2 points.
That's what Tony said last time. He was like, "You actually raised my points." My last point was that I think out of all the Marvel movies, this actually encompassed the heart of New York. Every movie that we've gotten where New York is shown, it's like, oh yeah, like, it's this grimy place. There's crime. There's these villains. Okay, we get it. This is the first time when we see the community of New York come
That's
together.
because 1965.
I mean,
I'm gonna be real.
you really think about 1965?
I'm gonna be real with you. This is the age of love and family.
Okay,
Like,
I get that. Commercialized.
Because they made sure that they tapped on Coca-Cola family photos. They made sure that everything with the kids are still playing. New York City, every time they show it, is crime because between 1990 to 2000, whatever, that's all that you hear about. If it's not urban crime and gang, blah, 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 blah. And it's not true. I'm a New Yorker. I know it's not true at all. But at the same time, you got to think the 60s is love, peace, and happiness. Now, of course, there's, Black Panther and all this other stuff going on in the government, but that's what that is. So to convey that makes sense.
I think this movie was also saying that, like, it not even is it 1965, it's like a more idyllic 1965 because they've got Reed Richards, they've got flying cars, they've got like, hey, we're actually going to make progress. We can fix these things. We can fix hunger. We can, like they were sort of doing all that we thought you would do in the future, in that 1965 already.
Yeah, Utopia. They had pretty decent Utopia because, to be honest with you, they could have stormed that building a long time ago.
Yeah.
All that waiting days and waiting to see what the Fantastic Four does. I'm surprised at that meeting when the brother asked, so are you saying that they just won the baby and you're not giving us baby? Those people could have started fighting right then and there.
That's what I was expecting.
I was expecting a tomato or something being thrown at them, and Sue had to put a bubble up. Like, yo, we gotta stop this. We gotta get out the back door.
You know what? I think we just touched on the issue. We got it. That's what it was. It was that idealistic, of the idea of that instead of our actual reality of what would happen. I think that's why I say we had the ingredients, but it didn't do it because we're going with the idea versus the reality. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, the reality of that situation, there would have been a mob. There would have been, oh, we gonna get that baby. Like, you know what I'm saying? But in this, like some SpongeBob, everybody pick up a pitchfork or something. But on this time, like, she comes to the community and she like reminds them that she is a part of the community. She was raised there, you know what I mean? And that instead of them dissociating and treating them like other because they have powers and they're, they live in a tower and they probably are more rich. They're like, oh no, this is Susie from the block. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is nephew, you know what I mean? Let's defend our people, you know what I'm saying? And I thought that was so beautifully done. You know what I'm saying? I think that was. Go ahead.
Also, they invented flying cars and all this technology we use and stuff like that. And it'd be like if it was just like they want this one baby and then they're gonna leave us alone, and then there's like, well, it is the guy that invented the subway. And you're like, Jesus, well, we need him.
Yeah, we need him. Yeah. But people are stupid. That goes right. Logic goes right out the window. To be honest with you, Reed at that moment, being so intelligent, you can be so smart that you're dumb because you should have lied. You should have never told him, like, yeah, he wants our son, and we're not giving him up. I don't know what the fuck. Pass the baby. Like, he's so intelligent. He's not a liar. I get it. Totally understandable. But to be so smart and to look America right in the eye and say, there's a 2 billion foot monster coming. Yeah. And my son, I'm not killing him.
But imagine what happens if he doesn't say that, and then Galactus shows up and he's like, "Look, all I want is that baby," and they'd be like, "What? How come you didn't tell us that?" And like, we trust him.
Come on in, and Galactus was split and
Listen, I have faith in my team. We're gonna figure this shit out. Okay, we're the Fantastic Four. We're not the Fantastic One. We're the Fantastic Four. We're gonna figure this out. But
you You should have brought your herald to me. I would have gave it to you.
You know what I'm saying? It was. I just looked at him. I said, "Don't you say it." He was like, "Yeah, they wanted a child." So and they were like, "Did you give it to him?"
Right.
Like, no.
So what's the problem?
What's the problem? I was like, "Yo, this is so crazy." No, it was.
I think the reason why he was honest, one is he's an honest person, but two, he was caught off guard. He literally, the first question was, "Wait, so did y'all defeat Galactus?" And he literally looked to the team like, what we doing here, y'all? Like, he wasn't. He thought about lying. He was like, "Shit, the analytics ain't looking good."
This is when you don't have good PR. You don't have good PR. Okay,
right?
That lady, the black lady, should have handled all of it. No further questions.
Right.
She should have been like, "Next question." She said, "Tom first." Whoever that guy was, she pointed to him. He asked the question. She let it go. You cover the mic. Let that man go. He's a scientist. He's not a public speaker. You don't want a scientist talk.
This wasn't the ideal New York in the 1965. After that scene would have happened, fire her.
Get her. Yeah, she's out of here. She's out of here.
Get her out of here. When does she even be working right now? Let's.
Yeah. She didn't do her job. I just felt like she set them up because she just walked them off the plane, and it was like, "Yeah, there's a question." Yeah, no debrief, no nothing. She has no idea. And in fact, she has no idea what they're going to say because she doesn't even know what happened. So there should have been a moment in a better world. There should have been a moment when she talked because Tony would have had the moment between Tony and Reed. Because Tony and Pepper would have been talking on the earpiece before he even landed on the ground. And Pepper would have covered all that. He'd have had a hologram Tony standing there, and it was all this would have been a rapid fire, and he would have figured out.
To your point, though, Tony would have just kept it a band too. Like,
Tony
would have been an asshole. Like,
well, he would have been an asshole, and it would have been. You know what?
Like,
the mob wouldn't even flipped out because the Tony's always an asshole. They would have been like, "So did you?" The mob would have said, "You didn't give him up, did you?" He'd be like, "Hell no, I didn't." That's what it. I didn't, but I'm gonna figure it out. Yeah, no, that was. Con, I will say you did those points on. You're good at that, bro. You're good at that.
Thank you.
Catching those, catching those points and making them prevalent in the conversation. I do appreciate that because
and I appreciate the last point of making about the community when things says, like my dad used to say, if you don't know what to do, pick up a shovel. That's a famous quote that just reminds us about what being an American really is. You know what I'm saying? About coming together, unifying, building, like all of that. So I just thought that was really beautiful. But I digress. Let's talk about my boy Doom. You know what I'm saying? How do y'all feel about him being the big bad of the MCU? How do you feel about Tony Stark playing that? Not Tony Stark. I can't even separate the actor from the
Robert.
Downey Jr. Right? Yeah. How do you feel about him taking on that role?
This is so
the same way.
So because my take on it, because my son, both my boys, I took them to see the movie, and they're like, "Is he doing whatever?" And so I had to explain to them, and I could be wrong. I'm just a fan talking, but it's a little fan service and it's a little truth at the same time. Doom and Tony are hair on a frog's ass away from being each other. If Tony didn't have family, that's basically this is the same person. If Tony didn't have a father to show him a certain way, he would have been doomed. Like he tried to take over the world technically by putting the bubble around the world.
Sure.
He created Ultron. Okay. Yeah. He
made weapons of mass destruction.
Mass destruction. He started with weapons of mass destruction. This is all stuff Doom has already done. Okay. Yeah. The only difference is Tony has a heart for the people. So I think the reason why Robert Downey is him is because they're saying this is the same person in a different universe. That's what my take on what Doom is going to be, and that's why they're picking him. And it's also fan service to mess with your mind to be like, yo, is he really Doom? And if he is, then what the hell have we been doing all this time? And I just think that shout out to Feige and them, they're riding that thin line, letting you fall either way. And I think that's what this is. Doom is my favorite villain of all
Same.
time.
Same.
Magneto is technically like right there,
Got a
but
thing for the
Doom,
villains with capes, huh?
yeah, well, listen, they got a thing for me. What are you going to Yeah, but he, because he gives no fucks for real. And it's really not about like villainy. Sometimes it is with him, but sometimes he wants to show you, I earned this. This is my stuff. All of this is mine, and you stay over there. And when you don't stay over there, then I'm gonna come over there and take everything. This, your girl, your wife, your kids. All of this is mine now, and that's how Doom runs. So Doom being the center of the universe is awesome for me. Like it's way beyond awesome. He's had the gauntlet. He's punched Thanos. He done did everything. He done fought Celestial. Like Doom is Tony on crack. So this is just how I feel. So I think that's what the story is going to be. I could be totally wrong, but I'm super excited because following this has to be Secret War, and my head is going to explode after that. So that I'll probably be a dead man by then. So I I appreciate the setup. That's how I feel about it.
Tony?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what they do, but at this point, I'm less speculative. I'm more just like, I wonder what they're gonna get up to. You know, like I wonder how this is all gonna fit together. I'm really I'm a wait and see kind of guy. So like with all the superhero movie anticipation, you know, it's like the trailers come out and it's like, oh, I'll watch that. That's fun. The stuff that I can't get into, I don't get into very much as a speculation because I'm always just like, I more think of like how I would have done it once I see it, you know, once I see what they do, I go like, oh, I would have done that differently or whatever. But I never think like, I wonder what they're going to do here as much. It's like when they release pictures of like the outfits, you know, or the costumes, and then people go on and have a whole opinion. Again, they really spend a lot of time on it. And then the movie comes out and you're like, oh, I look fine. You know, like you look all right. And so I feel like a lot of time that I would spend doing that, I'm, you know, making the comics instead. So I don't have a take on what he's going to be. I look forward to seeing what they do, and then if I don't like it, I'll be like, here's what I would have done.
So
my friend, I'm not gonna go out and publicly shit on their
right. So about them being your friends, Tony, be honest. You don't really be speculating because you be knowing, don't you? No, come on. You see your friends, Tony. Come on, Tony.
So I wasn't going to say nothing. See, this is what happens when you work in that field. You don't got to speculate. You hear enough to be like, we're outsiders. Like, we have our pinky toe in that water. We know a little bit of people in the industry where I can hear enough that I don't really have to speculate. You walk through doors. You hang around people. It's like vision. You just go through stuff.
You go to parties and stuff. Come on.
It's okay. I understand, Tony. I understand where you're coming from. It's okay. I would too if I had the power.
I'm probably a couple of degrees from knowing what the deal with Dr. Doom is if I wanted to find out. But I also like being surprised. I still like these movies, you know.
Got you.
I respect.
So I like to go in blind.
No, I feel you. I feel you on that too. That's like for me. A lot of times when people try to make that relation to the comics to the movies, it kind of. I'm not gonna lie. Me being a comic book fan, sometimes it's hard for me to digest the movie because I have an expectation of what it should look like and why I want it to look a certain way. But I can see that also, like you saying, have that expectation because you got a little birdie and you're like, and it's like it takes away from the surprise. Kind of like what you said, like with Endgame and stuff like that. It's like, oh, these are things we didn't see coming. And that's why it gave us that feeling that we got. So I hear you, Tony.
Now let me ask you guys. You said you generally you think the Fantastic Four is more boring and hard to get into. Have you read the Mark Waid run? The Waid Moringo?
Which one is that?
It's early 2000s, probably like 2004, 2003. It's Mark Waid and Mike Wieringo, and it's sort of like just like feels like great family sci-fi adventure stuff, but there are stakes. There's a lot of Doctor Doom. That's sort of when Doctor Doom gets mystical and sort of witchy too. Like
okay, yeah.
Doing the science leans more into the Doctor Strange of it. I recommend that stuff a bunch. Wade and Waringo's run. It's sort of like if you don't like Fantastic Four, check out this Fantastic Four.
I have Fantastic Four runs that I love. But I'm just saying that's why I said when I started it off, I just said I don't want to say majority. I would just say like, you get what I'm saying? I would say that sometimes it's too sciencey for a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? They're hearing the mathematics, they're seeing the spaceship and stuff like that. They're seeing the banter between Johnny and Thing, but there's no like real threat to where it feels like for the Fantastic Four until you start getting into the Council of Reeds and all of that stuff. Then that's when it really like ups the stakes, and now it's getting really interesting. But for me, speaking of, because we started talking about Doom and our expectation of Doom, I see I disagree. I disagree with my friend because he said that first of all, I will agree Doom is my favorite villain, so I'll give you that. But when you said that their difference is that, oh, you know, the difference is that Tony cares about his community and Doom doesn't. That to me is the complete difference. To me, they are the same character because Doom's whole intention is to save the world, and Doom knows that he's the only person who can do it. So all of his villainous means is a means to the end. So it's like it really doesn't like account to be bad because it's so well intentioned. So it's like I'm doing this for the good of the world. For example, if you ever read Doom Wars, which is one of my favorite,
absolutely, yeah, right.
That's when he like runs into Baz and he gets the power of Baz and takes over the power of like and Baz was like, you have nerve, you have audacity to come meet me. You know what I'm saying? I only would grant my powers to somebody of pure heart. And he said, oh yeah, go ahead, check me out. You know what I'm saying? And Baz does. It's like, oh, you're right, and gives him the power. So it's like it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? It's the better of two evils. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, you could choose to be the villain and be the hero. I think it's kind of like in Black Panther, where it's like being king. What T'Chaka says to T'Challa, where he's like, you're a good man, but it's hard for a good man to be king. You get what I'm saying? Because a king, which is what Doom is, has to make the hard decisions. You know, he has to be willing to sacrifice. He has to be willing to kill. He has to be willing to do all the nitty gritty things for the betterment of the world. You know what I'm saying? So heavy is the head that wears the crown.
We also have to trust that he's right, you know, like, and if you don't, in Doom's world, it doesn't matter because he's more of a fascist authoritarianism. Like, he's more like, I'm going to do this. I know what's right. We're going to do it. And if you have a problem, then we're going to fight, or I'm going to conquer, or what, you know. Like,
that's the fine line between him and Tony. Like, one is presidential, one is kingdom. Like, Tony's like a president. He's gonna rule with a good one. There you go. Yeah. He's gonna rule with his iron fist, but he's gonna listen to reason. Doom doesn't listen to anybody's reason. I'm gonna do it because I say so.
And that comes from his upbringing. It also comes from being second place to Reed Richards his whole life. You know,
right there.
Reed Richards is beloved. He's this hero. You know, the city of New York will be okay if he doesn't want to just sacrifice his baby. And meanwhile, anything Doom does, they're just like, shut up. You know, like,
that's a fact.
That's cool that Reed Richards can stretch, you know?
Yeah. There was also an issue with that in the movie where they're like, oh, Reed doesn't stretch as much as he, you know, normally would be able to, either in the old movies or in the comics. Did you feel some type of way when you saw that scene?
No, I mean, I don't care. Stretchy powers are so silly anyway that I'm gonna be like, oh,
yeah, who cares, bro? Like, he did what needed to be done. Okay,
doesn't the power of cosmic mess with your powers anyways? Like, couldn't Galactus mess with his properties to be able to stretch him like that if he wanted to?
Sure. So superheroes. I mean, it's all fake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like having him show that he's only this stretchy almost makes it easier to show him do cool stuff if we are setting up for do more, if we are setting up for more stuff. Like, knowing that he has limits, that he's not just like, you know, he can't just like carve around and go around the whole building 10 times and pop it, you know, like all that stuff. sort of like setting up the limits makes it cooler to push up against those, right?
I thought he always had limits. Am I
He
wrong?
always had limits, but it was the limits was definitely higher than what they showed. This is basically
I mean,
He was
what
just like Armstrong in this.
yeah. Well, you gotta like it's like, and most you gotta think about each artist is gonna do something different. So they may have them wrap around a tree 10 times, and then they're gonna wrap around the car twice. Like I interpretation for me in the comic book never carries in the story. I assume that Reed Richards always had limits, that he cannot stretch around a whole Empire State Building. I just never thought that. I thought that he can stretch pretty far and pretty well, but I never thought that it was unlimited. Like Fred Armstrong or Mr. Plastic, I think he's unlimited.
Yeah,
But that's also DC stuff. So I think he's unlimited. I think that dude can wrap around whatever he wants to wrap on. Reed Richards, I just think it's an adjective, add-on to his intelligence. That's all.
Speaking of DC, do you feel like Superman was better than Fantastic Four?
they're different. I like the vibe of like that 60s vibe of Fantastic Four. The aesthetic, I feel like I liked a little better than the DC Superman. But I like the world that they set up in Superman a lot too. Like I was like, oh, if this is the DCU, I'm cool with watching the adventures in this universe. I don't know if one was necessarily better than the other, but Superman did have moments like I like, like it did have those ones where you like that connected, that worked for me, that felt like I'll remember that. What more so than I think the Fantastic Four had. So I just think James Gunn is better at hitting those, when the robot says, "Do you want me to play the video of your parents?" And then it's the Kents, like that's a real moment that you remember from a movie,
Okay. All right. So you wouldn't put it above Fantastic Four, but you will say it is a step in the right direction for the DCU.
Yeah. For sure. They both have things that they do better than the other one. I think. Like I said, I think Fantastic Four looks better, but I think Superman had a couple better moments. But also, like I thought a lot of the Sue fighting Galactus stuff was really strong, and like you could really feel that. But it just if it was a James Gunn or if it was like a Joss Whedon Avengers or whatever, there would have also been like to go with that. There would have been a little punchy something.
Okay, I respect that. Very diplomatic answer. All right. I personally feel like Marvel was a lot better. I think that I felt like the issue that you felt with Fantastic Four was the issue with Superman. Yes, I'm not saying it was a bad movie. Not going to say that. But I felt like there's a corniness to just Superman and his stories that always rubbed me the wrong way. Like, I feel like they make every character, and I feel like going back into the early comics, it's like you make every character, whatever is their role, an extreme of that role. Like Superman, he not only is he good, he's just good all around. That's just a stand-up guy. He has no flaws. Morally, he's just all right. And then with the black guy, he just kind of had this like, oh, what you think? Oh yeah, brother. Like it's just like it just is cringy for me because it's like then you got Gardner as the Green Lantern where he's like a cop. And it's like, yeah, of course, like you're gonna be having that persona that you have, but it's like an extreme level. Like he doesn't see anything outside of like what's in the gray. Because it took one rumor that Superman might have the intentions of taking over the world for him to turn his back on him. And this is somebody that you're supposed to be fighting crime with for X amount of times. You know what I'm saying? To the point that Superman calls you his friends. And it took one rumor for you about to get ready to fight with him because you have this police mentality, you know what I'm saying? Like it's what and I just like it's too extreme. There should be a duality. Like, wow, Superman, really? Like a conversation. The citizen shouldn't be like, oh, I'm throwing that. I'm like, what? And I feel like that right there is the fine line that showed the difference between real heroes and like what they did with DC versus Fantastic Four, because like we just talked about, the community, yeah, they had their grievances and they was upset, but they didn't just turn their backs on them and try to bulldozer the building and stuff like that. No, they embraced them. They said, yeah, you are a part of us. Yes, we are going to help you. Yes, we're going to save our lights. You're going to do everything we can to protect what we call our family. And we didn't get that in Superman. And it should have been that, because Superman is not just protecting Metropolis, just like Fantastic Four is protecting New York. He's literally going over fighting terrorists in different countries. So you're going to tell me this is the man that we turn our backs on the moment we get a rumor? Because we don't know if this is fact checked. You know what I mean? So I didn't. Those are the moments that really rubbed me the wrong way.
Con, you're making good points once again.
I will have to disagree. The reason why is because even in our political wars now, one rumor will change everything. People will turn their back on anybody at any given moment. Humans are weak sheeple. They don't care about
Is
nothing.
that sheeple?
Yes, I did. They're sheeple. Absolutely. And you quote me on that because I disagree. The moment something doesn't work or you don't like it, they're like, you know what? I never liked that guy. I never liked him. He's been wearing Superman shit every day. Got the haircut like him. Got the kids dressing like him. And the minute something happens, I knew I didn't like that alien. And that's what you will start calling it. An alien.
Yeah.
People turn so fast, bro. That's why it's best to choose your friends wisely, like my grandfather said. Choose your friends wisely because family ain't shit. And that's just what it is.
All right, so we only have so much time because I know you said you want to get out of here at 1:30. I've been watching it. I know you said from an hour to an hour 30, so I already know we on the push it.
2:30. Yeah.
All right. So I want to on tapping no capping. We tap means you agree, cap means you disagree. So I'm gonna bring up a couple of posts and you just give us your opinion on it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So Green Goblin has a worse personality disorder than Moon Knight. Tap or cap?
Well, he definitely handles it worse. I guess I will. I'll say I'll tap that.
Tap?
Yeah.
Tap.
Are we all three check in?
Yeah,
I make the post. So I definitely agree. That's
I tap because he's a terrible father. He's got a terrible personality. I tap.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Moon Knight's handling way more personalities with a certain amount of grace. You know, he's able to at least still help people. This guy's got one extra personality, and he's a complete maniac.
Absolutely, Tony.
That's my point. I feel like with Moon Knight, yes, multiple different personalities, but as they showed in the show, of course, it's different in the comics. But as they showed in the show, they essentially come to protect him. You know what I mean? Like they're not personalities that are conjured to hurt him or put him in a worse position. Essentially, they come when needed. Like, okay, you're the better fighter. Oh, you are the person who better handles relationships or whatever it is that I need in this moment is when this personality comes out. And sometimes they swap out and that's when it becomes hard, but they're all beneficial versus when it's Green Goblin. Nah, this is he has the full will, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a Bruce Banner versus Hulk type of situation. So except for Green Goblin is actually like menacing versus Hulk, he just likes to fight. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I agree. I'm glad you tapped with that. I think you'll find this more interesting because did you write for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
I just drew for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I'll have an opinion, I'm sure.
Okay, bet. So, put them both in a junkyard, and Donatello is the better engineer. Tap or cap?
Cap.
That's cap.
I mean, Rocket Raccoon was just making full guns out of just like trash laying around, and he would just find stuff in a spaceship and make a laser gun out of it.
That's essentially what Donnie does.
Nah, bro.
He doesn't make weapons of mass destruction, but he does.
It's the quickness. Like Rocket literally will take this battery, this cannon, and it's a robot walking down the street. Like, how did you do that? Where did you get the battery to make it walk? It's Rocket, bro.
All I'm saying is that Rocket essentially grew up in a science lab where he knows how to build. Donnie literally learned by himself. and literally grew up in junkyards where he made all these amazing. He made cell phones. He made teleportations. He made vehicles being able to like, you know, on some like Men in Black type stuff. Like he has, I would say, yes, Rocket makes more destructive, you know, stuff that he could make in the junkyards. Not one is not bad at it, you know, they're both good at it, but one makes things out of destruction and one makes things to actually help people.
Listen, if we both met in the yard to make something, and my shit is cooler than yours, I don't care if you were in the
Make
city.
it cooler.
Because it worked, it happened faster. We're still waiting for Donnie to put it together. Rocket's already got it.
Yeah.
Donnie's trying to
You're
put it together.
saying Rocket is faster at it.
No, he's better at it. It's not faster because faster means I run faster than you. What happens is we put the same two things in front of us. Rocket's already got it going. Donnie's still trying to put it together and say, okay, now this is what we're doing. Rocket's already made it, and it's going. It's about to blow the door open. Whatever it is, Rocket, he sees it before it happens. I never really explained his power, but however he does it, he's like, and it's done. Whether it's a weapon of mass destruction, and mind you, it's only weapons of mass destruction because that's what they need from him. I'm pretty sure if they needed him to build a robot to pick up something, he could build a robot to pick up something. It's just they do a lot of shooting. They're cowboys in outer space, so they do a lot of shooting. That's just what they do. But Donnie is a genius, but it takes him way too long to conjure up this stuff.
All I would say is that I ain't never seen Rocket make a teleportation device. I've also hold on, wait. Also want to say Donnie, when they went to outer space and they was captured, right? When they was captured by aliens, Donnie understood alien technology and actually hacked the ship and took over it and became the pilot of that ship. That takes a different type of genius where you're not exposed to some type of technology or even a language and you're able to decode it and make it your own. I don't know if I could be able to do that. Go ahead.
Every person he interacts with is a different kind of alien species, and he just jumps in, takes their stuff, puts it all together. Now these things
he's
again,
always been in outer space.
He was a child. He was a child and figured out what nobody could figure out. That's why they were looking for P06 whatever, because he was a child. And he was like, it's simple. You just take that cord and it's that fast. That fast. And he walked up to the machine and it wasn't a weapon of mass destruction.
Oh, sorry. You just made a perfect correlation. Bro, the what is it? What is his name? Not the engineer. What's his name?
Evolutionary.
High Evolutionary. If you like the High Evolutionary and you love the Rocket story, go read Stray Dogs, because that is very, very similar to what that story is like. He's torturing these animals. He's pretty much a serial killer. He literally blew up a whole planet. You know what I'm saying? So if you love that, and he was his master, that was what he was to Rocket. If you love that dynamic, read Stray Dogs. I'm sorry. That conversation just, sparked that.
I love whenever it comes back to my work. This is great.
Absolutely. No, but by all means, I'm going to read it anyway, just because this is not a joke, but like when you do things, I like different stuff. I'm not a horror person by any means. My little brother is. I think horror movies are pointless because it's the same thing all the time. But when you have a different perspective, and I kind of already knew just from being an artist, I knew you drew it from the PV of the pet all the time, and I think that's cool because it's like a Charlie Brown thing. I'm a big Charlie Brown fan, and it's like never see the parents, or like Tom and Jerry. It's always the legs. It's always from the animal's perspective. So once you said that, I was already pulled in from the jump. So I'm already going to tap in. Just no pun intended, tap in. But I'm definitely going to tap in with that for sure. And Rocket, capping.
You got it. It's cap. I'll give you. It's a nice conversation, but I'll give it to you. I'm not gonna fight on that, but I will say I am genuinely still Team Donnie. It's fine. I got it. You win the argument. he tweaked. He's like, I don't know how you do that, but all right.
You're loyal. You know what? You're loyal, and I like that.
Okay, so Terry McGinnis versus Kingpin, which, by the way, going back to this comic, not going to tell you because this is fairly new, isn't it?
The third issue is out now, so it's about halfway through the series.
Okay, so no spoilers, right?
You spoil all you want.
Oh, okay. Well, he's at the ending of this comic. You know what I'm saying?
Terry McGinnis?
No, what?
I was like, how the hell did you pull that on?
Yeah, honestly, that's what the fans really been waiting for. To be honest, is
never gonna happen.
They need to make it happen.
Never gonna happen.
They need to. Is all I'm saying. They may not ever do it, but they need to. Real quick, I want to say you did an amazing job with this story. I love that it focused on Grimm and how, in the beginning of the issue, talk about how the insecurity of Ben and just kind of like how I talked about in the movie, how they kind of just shied away from that and gave him more of an emboldened type of personality. Sue checked him immediately in this story. Like, look, we tired of it. Come on, Grimm. Let's go ahead. Let's wrap it up, man. We know how this goes, and I love that. And then even in the as the story progresses, Ben is still a man of the community. He even says, referencing the movie about Galactus, in this story, he says if Galactus doesn't show up, don't bother me. Even with, he said, don't, even if it's a herald, like I don't knock on my door. But the man still answered for somebody from his neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? And I thought that speaks to the heart of Grimm. I thought that was very beautifully wrote. And even when he gets into this tussle, again, I'm going to leave out I'm not going to give out everything. When he gets into the tussle with this particular person, this is a super strength character, and Ben is having a conversation. He's just taking the blows and just being investigative to get what he needs in order to accomplish his mission. And he says at the ending, having power is knowing when to use it. And I think that just seeing the heroism in Ben, about him just being the man that can take all the blows and having the heart to basically be the rock of everybody's situation. I think that is what you put in this story, and I think that was really dope.
Thanks, man. Well, yeah, I wanted to introduce the insecurity because I do feel like you don't have to dwell on it the whole time to let readers know that color's part of the way that how he operates, how he moves, is because he's sort of like, he knows he's this big rocky monster, right? But he also knows that there's like drawbacks to that, but there's like bonuses to that too, right? Like, he's not new being the thing in this series. It takes place in the past, but it's not like he's just like, oh, I'll never find love or whatever. Like, we don't need to get into all that. But like, anybody that has anything they don't like about themselves, or that like that's something that's always there. It's just it's like the monkey on your back, right? Like,
I think it's the art of subtlety. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be boom in your face. It's like, we know, and you can show moments of it, but don't let it. I don't even think of a man like being somebody from the 1960s or just a man in general. Mostly, we don't just wear our heart on our sleeves where we're just like down and showing everybody. A lot of us put on a mask to try to mask that feeling. So I think that that subtlety and that hint of that emotion and that feeling is the art of what you did pulled off.
But I think with Ben especially, the thing that he's self-conscious about, the thing that he's most self-conscious about, everybody sees it's the most famous thing about him, right? And so the way that he's operating in the world is everybody can see the thing that I don't like. And so I'm just going to be, I'm going to be cool to people, and I'm going to, do my best to help. He has this code from how he grew up, and he sort of lives by that, but he's also operating from a place of, he's not trying to please anybody, but he wants to just make sure everybody knows, like, no, I'm going to be solid in this situation. I know I look terrifying, but I'm here to help, or whatever. But he doesn't have to say it. That's just how I think he's moving,
Right. So yeah, back to the question. Who do you think will win? Terry McGinnis, which is Batman Beyond from, the Batman series, or Kingpin from Marvel?
Does he have the Batman stuff? Does he have the suit and everything?
I'm gonna give him the suit. I'll give him the suit. I would normally say no, but let's give him the suit because obviously he's about to fight the Kingpin. So sure.
Batman. They both don't have superpowers, but he has stuff. And if you're saying could the Kingpin set up like a born again situation or like set this whole man's life akimbo so it could all fall apart,
For sure.
he could probably do that. But if we're just a one-on-one, I feel like Batman's going to win against anyone who's not super strength. Like if it's two normally powered people versus each other, I give.
You think Kingpin is normal?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he has like super strength. He's just like
I don't know. I think he pretty.
Kingpin is not normal. If you fight Spider-Man, you're not normal. I don't care what's happening.
I mean,
in the comics, I'm just saying. In the comics, he's beat. He's put paws on Black Panther. He's beat up Captain America. He's beat up Spider-Man. He's beat up Daredevil, and all these people are super powered. Like even with Daredevil, he has super senses. You shouldn't be able to hit him. Plus, he's a ninja. Then you got Captain America, super soldier serum, Spider-Man. At the very least, even if he didn't hurt Spider-Man, the fact that he has a spider sense. How are you able to pull that off? And then if we're really going comics, he has the cane with that, the ray gun and all that other stuff. So it's like,
if he does have a ray gun, that's something.
If you got a ray gun, I agree with Tony. With the suit, yes. Without the suit, absolutely not. I don't care what's going on. Tony,
I think Kingpin is stubborn. Right, like that's his superpower is that he doesn't give up and he fights and fights and fights and fights. He's mad, like Lex Luthor. He's mad. I'm sorry Hiztori to interrupt, but he doesn't have superpowers.
Yeah. Don't worry about that. But no, I just if we're talking about Kingpin at the peak where he's crushing Spider-Man's back and he's smacking Captain America, it's still even hard for Terry with the suit on. I think Terry would win because Terry is vicious, low key. Like Terry,
he fights dirty.
He fights dirty. Yeah, he got close. So Kingpin would not really expect that because any of those people we just mentioned doesn't fight dirty, and that's really the problem. And
I mean, speaking of fighting dirty, Kingpin did beat Punisher multiple times, and Punisher, we all know Punisher fights dirty.
Punisher's a regular guy.
See, you gotta you use that term too loosely.
Punisher doesn't have any superpowers, so that happening, I'm not. When a writer, so we all know this boils down to writing. When it's a Punisher comic book, you're gonna get edged. Punisher's gonna have extra feet and extra blah 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 blah. But if we're taking them as base characters, Punisher is a guy who has a high tolerance of pain. Kingpin can punch through a wall. So at some point in time, Punisher is not going to survive nothing. I don't care how many guns, bullets, or whatever. Terry McGinnis in that suit, he fights dirty. So Kingpin's going to get washed because Terry's not afraid to take those nails across his throat. Like he's not afraid to do any of that when it gets to that. Spider-Man, even Daredevil at his worst, is not that menacing. So, Terry will put hands on Kingpin if he's got that suit on. Without the suit, he's just a regular teenager who's about to get crushed. That's just what it is.
Last point, I would say there's a crossover where Batman fights Kingpin, and even Batman says, I can't physically harm him. So if Batman Bruce Wayne can't beat up Kingpin, I don't know if little Terry getting it done. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Batman doesn't really put paws on you. He wants to
Dark Knight?
He wants to fight you. Terry might kill you.
Okay. No, he does. I'm not gonna lie. The series.
Batman's like he's trying to knock him out,
blowing up people and all types of stuff. You like, wait, is he? Are they?
That's my point. What's going on? Batman might break something. It's hard to break King. The reason why he says that because it's hard to break Kingpin's bones. It's hard to break his jaw. Batman will do that. Terry will really try to hurt him to the point where he may not get up.
Okay,
And
I give
that's
you
the
that. I mean, the
irritant
suit
one.
does have more strength, so it will be
I
a
mean,
tougher fight. So I get it.
speaking as a heavy person, I feel like Batman sees
Well,
Kingpin and
I
just
got
like,
big
he might
back
have
too.
a heart attack. He might, like he might have a stroke out here. He might, he might be in a diabetic fit. Who knows what's going on? Like, I feel like
That's fucked up.
Batman's also like looking at all the. He's a scientist. He sees all the angles. He doesn't want to just punch a guy and throw him into a full stroke.
Oh, he's a Batman fan.
It's okay. I'm definitely a Batman fan.
I'm a Batman fan as well, but
Absolutely.
also my second favorite villain of Marvel is Kingpin. So I'm also still biased there too. There's a run, even though we brought up Doom. Doom, he fights Doom and knocks out Doom. Like it's my favorite fight besides when Luke Cage runs up and beat him up for $200. Doom has a problem with people from New York.
Yeah, he does. He
People from
does.
New York don't play around. And it's messed up because Kingpin beats him up based on Doom talking to him crazy. That was it. They was friends. Like they was working on the same team. They both have the same agenda, but Doom was just talking to him crazy. He's like, hey, how long? Kingpin literally socks him and says, how long do you think that I was going to just take what you saying right now? Freaking Doom blasts him and all, and he takes it and beats him up and drops him on a car from the top of a rooftop. Like, it's one of my favorite fights. But anyways, I digress. We're running out of time. We probably are out of time. I just want to mention, you also did this. This is the swimsuit. I was issue with Marvel, and I don't know if you are a fan of Marvel Rivals, but I am a fan of Marvel Rivals. I did not even have a video game system until Marvel Rivals came out, and I said, I guess it's time to pick up the sticks again, and that's when I did. I bought a whole new system. I bought the video game, and that's literally all I play. You basically inspired the series for the chapter of them having swimsuits and all that stuff, right?
Vice versa, I think. Marvel Rivals had been Marvel did swimsuit issues 30 years ago in the 90s, and they were like a take on the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issues. They would have like fake ads in them, and it would be like, this issue everybody's going to they're going to be on the moon with the Inhumans, or in this issue everybody's going to be in Madripoor or whatever, and then they would go shoot a swimsuit issue there, and they just did it like. They didn't tell the story of how come these superheroes were taking swimsuit pictures for a swimsuit issue. So Marvel then things change and comics get a little less sexual, and a little less exploitive as time goes on, and then we go through a whole reckoning on it's like a Me Too movement, and and everybody's just going like, what is appropriate, and then Marvel Rivals is sort of like more in tune with what young people are cool with, right? And they got real sexy in that thing.
They call them gooners now. Like that's just they've been putting out some real, pushing the lines in Marvel Rivals, know. So yeah.
But basically, Marvel Rivals was getting sexier and sexier, and then Marvel Publishing was like, "Oh, we could do that. Well, let's go." We haven't done one of these in 30 years. So yeah, they called up Tim Seeley, who I did a book called Local Man with, and they said, "Hey, we're doing another swimsuit issue. We need a script this week." So like they had 1 week basically to pitch it and then get it written and turned in so an artist could start drawing it. And he said, I can get it done if Tony can do it with me. And so he brought me in on that.
Wow.
And we pitched basically the idea of how these superheroes ended up making a swimsuit issue. And so it's sort of like a meta, like a cute little meta story. And we got to do a lot of fun superhero jokes. And we got to do callbacks to some of the stuff from the older swimsuit issues. And I got to write every Marvel superhero. So I got to write for Spider-Man and Punisher and all. If I was crossing stuff off of a bucket list, I'd be like, boom, 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 Deadpool, Wolverine,
That's amazing, man. That sounds like a childhood dream come true, honestly, man.
For sure.
I know we've stressed you for time. You said 1:30, it's 1:39. So I'm not gonna push you no longer than this because I did want to talk about you're a fan of hip hop and the story we talked about with Wu-Tang Clan, but I'm not gonna push you because I respect your time and I respect your artistry and I respect that you did this for free and everything. So you are the man. You are dope. I'm so happy to meet you. And man, thank you for continuously to provide for us fans because you're doing an amazing job. And I'm like giving you your flowers. I'm definitely gonna buy more stuff, and I really want to lock in with you because I am a true fan, and I hope that you had a good time on the show because I definitely want to do something with you in the future.
This is great. Yeah, man. I've got new stuff coming out next year. A lot of next year's going to be a big year. So let's get back on and talk about it. You know, you read the old stuff, you check out the new stuff, whatever you like. And I'll come and argue with you about superhero movies or whatever. I'm happy to come show up.
Bet. All right. Well, you have a good time, man. Thank you for tapping in with Tapping No Capping. And I'll talk to you next time.
Of course, man. Hiztori, good to meet you, Con.
Pleasure to meet you, brother. Pleasure.
See you guys.